How are you? You know how Clip Studio has this part of its program where you can use like 3D poses to like draw over them directly in the program? Well, this past week I was scrolling through Instagram and an artist shares like this website where you can use 3D poses, 3D models to like reference them and whatnot. It's called Posemaniacs. I'm so sorry, I don't remember the name of the artist right now. And I will only remember, I don't know when. I'm hoping I don't get banned for showing this as well because there are flesh people here. But so, since like I don't use Clip Studio Paint and I don't have Clip Studio Paint and I don't really plan on buying Clip Studio Paint because I don't really need Clip Studio Paint, I found other ways around in which I can use these 3D models to like pose stuff. I found this pose that you can see on the screen beside my own drawing, right? And when I saw this pose, I instantly like did things. Also, what I really like about these models is that they're like made out of muscles and flesh and they're anatomically correct. They look exactly how a human is supposed to. Sure, they're a bit more stiff than usual, but since I know how to draw, like I can add the movement on my own. I know how muscles work and whatnot. And, like I can make the whole movement a lot softer. It's like look like it's a person, right? And it's not just like stiff. After I saw this pose on the website, I instantly got this idea of Jealous like bending over a bar counter, like. Because, guess what? We're getting into story. I miss talking about my OCs and I'm so happy I will finally get into it again. Unfortunately, I will not recap most of what I already told in the past. Not this time. Not now. Because it's too much. If you want, I definitely have another video in which I talk about it. I don't know which one, but I have one. So if you know the story, I don't know if you do. I think that since the last time I talked about my OCs, I got a lot of subscribers. It's a lot of people for me, okay? Like, me in a room of 200 people, that's actually crazy. But so, in the story of Huion, which is the story in which I talk about these characters, Jealous and Selena and Cave and whatnot, like most of my characters are from this story. They live in a city that starts with an X, which to this day I still have not figured out what the name of the city is. I just know I have it written down somewhere. And in the city, like one of the main buildings in which the story like goes on and you know, a place that people visit a lot in this story of mine is this one sex shop which Jealous's best friends are the owners of the place. And on the first floor there is like a store. Then above that, there is their apartment, of course, like they need a place to live. And below that is a gay bar, because we gotta have some fun, right? So, now we will get into darker topics, right? But that's just the reality of the situation, unfortunately. So, when Jealous moves back, right, where the president's like, dude, your brother is like kind of going crazy and he kind of needs someone. You know, his best friend kind of died and, you know, I really think that you should go back and help him out. And he's like, well, kind of, you know, the police kind of doesn't like me and whatnot. And then he comes back and then he has to clean his name with the police and whatnot. And then people are like, what do you mean you didn't kill your parents? Oh my god, I would have never believed that. You were like 13, 14. How did you not? And he's like, yeah, I kind of didn't. Of course, but in a better way, right? But that's like the synopsis of the whole thing. So then he's like living in the city and he doesn't really have much to do since his brother is like kind of depressed, you know. He just doesn't want to talk with anyone or do anything, or he doesn't want to exist right now. So Jealous is there for him, but when he isn't, he's like, well, what do I do? Well, I know about this one gay bar, and you know how in the LGBT community people just perceive them as like these party goers, and they always want to party and they're so extroverted and they just want to be around each other and whatnot, and yada yada, all of that bullshit. Which really, I don't know why, like, people are just people. Just because of their sexual orientation or the lack of any, doesn't mean that instantly they just want to go out and party and whatnot. That doesn't have to do with anything. It's more so based on the personality more than anything. Like, please. But since, like, people are like that, they just perceive each other as that, and you know, I just have to sigh. Jealous like, well, I gotta meet my people, right? I need to go out and be. So he goes to the skate bar and he meets like the owners, which, guess what? To this day, even though I've had them for years and they're like really big characters in the story, I still have not drawn them. I tried, but I don't have them. So he meets the owners, which the owners are a couple, they're married, and it's Vaughn Iron. You know how I got that name for him? I have this character, Von Henry, which is his brother, and I just reversed his name and like made it sort of logical. And that's how I got Iron. So I guess that's his name. And then we have Josie Mary, which is his wife, and the only drawing I have of her is from 5 years ago, this drawing right here, which looks like she's having a really bad period, but I know that there was some metaphorical reason behind this drawing, because I was so crazy and metaphoric and so poetic. But guess what? It just looks like she's having a bad time during her period and her portrait. They go to this bar a lot, where, you know, people are there, and then he talks with the owners a lot. But then afterwards, like, Jealous just goes like to the store itself and just hangs out with them in general, and they go to his place and they just talk, you know, they're friends. And usually Iron like gives him advice and whatnot, and Josie Mary's like, why the fuck are you so stupid? Honestly, I agree with her sometimes, but sure. What is happening in this scene specifically is, so, you know Vundy, this character that I created a while back in a video where I learned how to draw shoes? He is the vocalist of a band, and usually, since she also knows Iron, because everyone knows Iron for some reason, like, he really is outgoing. Most of the people, like, know him. He has a lot of friends. He's just very well known around the place, the town, and whatnot. So she knows him, and she likes playing his stuff live sometimes, and whatnot. And since her band, like, isn't that famous, like, it's famous but not that famous, she sometimes likes going there just to play and have fun and whatnot. And at one point, Selena, you know, Selena, my girl, her, she has a secret singing career, which at some point, people find out her identity, which wasn't really hard to find out. No one knows how people haven't found out sooner. And then, because of some tragic stuff, right, I will not get into that, because that's way too serious, and I will not be able to take this whole thing right now. It's too much to talk about. It's a whole nother point. We will not get into this. So then, like, she's walking around at night. No one knows why. She still goes when the thing happened that night. And Vundy ends up seeing her and it's like, oh my god, I'm like your biggest fan. Oh, I love you and your music and everything. Oh. And Selena's like, thanks, I guess. And, like, Selena's nice about it, and they just talk, they hit it off and whatnot. Sure, Selena isn't really the person to go out of her way, like, to meet new people and hang out and whatnot, but that doesn't mean that she's mean with people, right? So, Vundy is like, well, you see, I'm, like, going to make a show here in this bar. If you want to come over and whatnot, maybe we could sing together. I know, like, all of your songs. Oh my god. I'm like, your biggest fan and whatnot. She doesn't even know about Josh yet, but we won't get into him. And so it's like, yeah, sure, why not? I don't have anything better. Why she accepts it? I don't know. It's the same thing before her career started, so I guess we're here. So she goes to the bar, and then she starts singing there with Vundy and whatnot. And she really likes it, so her and Vundy start hanging out together and doing these shows. And at some point she asks the owner, like, can I make a whole show here, like, do my own thing? And obviously Iron is like, I don't really have the money for that, because I know you're very famous and you probably, you know, you want a lot of money for your work and whatnot. So he's like, nah, I just want to sing. So he's like, well, sure, go ahead, I guess. So she goes there and, like, does a whole show for the people. All the people are like, oh my god, it's Delina, I love your music so much. And she's like, hey, yeah, okay, woohoo, yippee, woohoo, party. And everyone has fun. And at some point, like, she sees Jealous at the bar, and he is doing this pose that you see, like, him. And she goes over to talk to him, and he's just, like, venting about his ex and whatnot, and how much he misses him. Oh my god, he was the love of my life. I will never live without him. You know, that sort of stuff. I don't really know what that's like, so that's how I Okay, so basically that's the gist of the whole thing. What I'm doing for this illustration, I start off with grayscale again, because for some reason lately whenever I want to make like a big illustration, I just start with grayscale to put the values down. But for this, the values were not valuing. Everything wasn't dark enough and everything wasn't bright enough. So later on, I fixed that with the levels and whatnot. I really wanted a party atmosphere for this, so like very neon and for some reason blue, because my brain was like blue. Party, blue. I learned a thing a while back with an artist whose name I also don't remember. I don't know what's with me, I just cannot remember any artists' names. But I remember that the way they draw to make like things look detailed without actually being detailed is adding textures first and then like shading and whatnot. They add details without adding details really, and that's sort of what I do. So I use very textured brushes for the beginning and like sort of shade in the softer parts of the shadows. Later on I will add harsher shadows. I don't know if I actually recorded that or not, but that happens, so you can be sure of that. And I don't know, it was just I needed things to be dark and bright. So after I put the values down, I'm happy with it and sort of render everything, and everything is looking kind of In the back you can see Aaron and Josie Mary, but just their torsos. This is the closest thing I ever got to actually drawing them. There was actually a drawing from 2021, if I'm not mistaken, where I actually drew Iron, but I never finished, and I don't think I have that file anymore, so Iron is gone forever. I don't know if I exported the image beforehand, before I deleted the file, which I usually do. I don't think I did that for this guy though, so you can be sure of that. And Josie Mary, which I have that one, that one drawing from 2020. But sure, this is the closest thing we got to them again. So, great. And I tried using the color mapping for this to like add in the colors without actually changing the values, but I'm pretty sure I used the wrong layer mode. Layer mode? No. The wrong filter, the wrong gradient map thingy. And I just couldn't find the actual one, and I just gave up and was like, dude, I will just use the layer mode color. Because there is a layer mode called Color in Krita, the program I use to draw for this. I usually use two programs. I use Paint Tool Side for doing my thumbnails and Krita for using like to make the bigger illustrations, And I decided to add the colors that way because it doesn't actually change the values, it just adds hue to the illustration. But since everything looks like really desaturated, and I have not been into that lately, I've been very colorful, which my 2021 self would be really weirded out by. If you didn't know, this is what I used to draw in 2021. Everything was desaturated purple. Honestly, I learned a lot that year with values and whatnot, and just like being very limited with my palette. It was really good learning. For what, I don't know, but like I really know how to shade now, thanks to that, despite like being desaturated, but we won't get into that this time. And afterwards, I add overlay layers to obviously add a lot of neon colors. It was supposed to be a party environment, and everything was supposed to be real neon and bright and colorful. You know what I've been really enjoying lately? Making the skin very gold. Ever since I did this last illustration here of transition, right? Where I used the metallic brushes to like sort of make the skin look gold and whatnot. I've just been really enjoying drawing like very golden skin. Kind of reminds me of Lucky Ones, the song from Lana Del Rey. But anyways, I just add a bunch of textures. I tried going back to my old self and adding like these hair strands to like sort of make it more detailed, because I miss making more detailed illustrations, okay? Last year I made a really great illustration about Pride, and I really enjoyed that, and I wish I could still draw that way. Anyways, here are the finished results. There's only one, but sure. It looks a bit messy, but I wanted it to be that way because it's supposed to be like this sort of very party environment, and like big mess of colors, and like there is a lot going on that place, so it looks really cool. I'm glad I did that. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'm so happy that I was able to talk about my OCs again. I love talking about my OCs. I don't know if you've noticed. I miss talking about them, and I will talk about them more in the future. Anyways, I hope you have a nice day and night, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!